So we just got done talking about, Taylor was there live at Frank Wilson's presser yesterday. We got the news about Garrett Nussmeier with the nagging injury on the oblique. But look, there's been a lot of talk. The plan was, per Frank earlier in the week, that both quarterbacks are going to be playing for both quarterbacks to play. Now, he didn't necessarily say, dual quarterback system, but he said there's going to be a plan in place for both quarterbacks to play. Now, does that speed that timeline up? There's some repercussions, though, with Van Buren. If Van Buren decides, if they're like, all right, Nuss, you know what? Offense hadn't been great. You're hurting a little bit. Let's just give the keys over to Van Buren. But there are some repercussions that aren't just going to be up to Frank. I got to feel like it's going to be up to Van, and that's, of course, the Redshirt.
Yeah, so take the bowl game out of it. The bowl game does not count towards eligibility. He can play in one more regular season game with 3 remaining.
Just like one play.
Yes. I mean, one regular season game. That would be his 4 games. That would burn his red shirt. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want Michael Van Buren to burn your red shirt? Obviously, you want LSU to win every game. You want them to have the best opportunity. But, I mean, let's call it like it is. This is a lost season. It is. You don't have a quarterback currently in the 2026 recruiting class because you were all in on Bryce Underwood last year, remember? Right. You missed on him. You actually had to scramble to go get a Michael Van Buren. I mean, you kind of paid a premium price for Michael Van Buren to be your backup quarterback in the transfer portal because you needed somebody. I mean, you had a 17-year-old Colin Hurley and Garrett Nussmeier. That's all you had.
Right.
And then you don't have anybody committed in the upcoming class as of right now. So, I mean, do you want to preserve that red shirt if you possibly could? I would think yes. However, this throws a wrench in things.
Yeah. So when you bring a guy like Michael Van Buren in, you bring him in the offseason, you bring him through the portal. The conversation has to be had at that point about the red shirt. Here is what's going to happen. If these things happen, we're going to burn your red shirt. And are you okay with that? And I'm assuming the answer was probably yes. Okay. But it was probably yes with some conditions. Yeah, as long as it's not for a play. As long as it's not a waste or going in crap time or whatever it is. I guarantee you that there was never a conversation with him are you okay burning it because our Heisman hopeful quarterback isn't playing well enough? And at the end of the year, we're going to have 4 losses and we're going to see what you got.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever the situation. So especially with the interim tag that Frank has, I don't think it can be up to him.
No, it has to be up to Van Buren.
It has to be up to Van Buren. And now, at the end of the day, they can make him play, I would assume, but I just don't see that happening. But it has to be up to Michael Van Buren and his family deciding what the best course of action for his career is. I mean, because at some point, these kids do, at some point, have to be selfish a little bit. Team first, team first, team first, then team first, but then a little bit of selfish on knowing what your career is. And, yes, it is a great opportunity. If they just said, Van Buren, you're going to be the starter of the rest of the season, I think that's absolutely, let's burn that thing. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Or, hey, we're going to play you in one more game, but you're going to start the entire Western Kentucky game. We want to see what we have in you. We hear that all the time with Tyler Shuck. You got to see what you got. But with Van Buren, it's actually a little bit more true because you need to know, is your starting quarterback in 2026 currently on the roster? Some people will say yeah. A lot of people will say no. But, you mentioned, sometimes you do have to be selfish. People forget about this. Garrett Nussmeier was. When his first year here, Brian Kelly got the job in that Texas Bowl. John Trey Kirkland started at quarterback. It was because at that time, it doesn't anymore, but at that time, that would have burned Garrett Nussmeier's red shirt, and he did not want to do that. Now, there was a little bit of pushback on it, but, I mean, hell, Matt, at the beginning of the season, everybody was really, really happy that Garrett Nussmeier didn't burn that red shirt, and he was out of eligibility a year ago. So, we've seen that happen right here before.
Right.
I don't think Van Buren does that because you do have
but it was also a decision. Yeah, that was also a decision that was based on the future of that head coach and what they were doing. Frank's not going to be that full time. Right. I mean, let's not say never, whatever. But
we don't believe so.
We don't believe that so he's not making a decision based on his future success as the head coach, right? So anyway, there's just a lot going on with this decision, and I don't envy anybody having to make this decision. I don't envy Frank having to try to make the decision about Garrett Nussmeier and about the offense does. You made a decision last game to pull him, and it was the right decision at that time. Now, now you got to decide what's going to happen next. And we've already heard. And I think Alondra actually just texted us. He said on the show last night, Frank said on the show last night that the decision of who is going to start will be made in warm-ups. Alondra, can you jump on here and kind of give us a little clarity on that?
Yeah, so they asked Frank during the show last night, well, Chris did, and he said basically the same thing. It's a nagging injury. They gave him a pitch count during practice yesterday, and I don't think they practiced today, but they've been giving him a pitch count at practice, and they're just going to see how he feels during warm-ups, and he didn't have like a definitive answer over who was going to start, but they did ask him about like a dual quarterback system, and he says that that's not really what they're trying to do because of what you said, because it's hard to get a quarterback like into rhythm, especially if you're switching them in and out and stuff like that. So it was basically that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you're saying that kind of tells me, just like hearing this for the first time, really, this kind of tells me that the plan is to play Garrett.
Unless he can't.
Unless he can't.
Well,
and then at that point.
That's a drastic change from what he said on Monday. Now, I get this injury. I mean, in the press conference yesterday, he said this popped up today. Yep. So this was a Thursday injury. On Monday, I mean, a lot of people were criticizing him because he came out and said, yeah, we're really not going to change anything. I mean, we might play two quarterbacks, but Garrett's the starter. He's going to get all the first-team reps in practice. I mean, that is a drastic change. Like, last night he was saying, at the press conference, was saying, you know, he's probable, but it's concerning. I mean, that right there, what he said at the coaching show sounds like this is questionable full game time decision. Right,
and it might be one of those situations where, hey, there's a plan to play both these guys. We're assuming Garrett's healthy, right? This is probably the beginning of the week. So plan to play Garrett and both guys. But we're not playing the best defense in the SEC. So if Garrett's coming out and we're moving the ball, let's keep Michael Van Buren sideline, maybe play in the Western Kentucky. There's so many scenarios that we could play out. In all honesty, we don't know what's happened. All we can try to is read the tea leaves here. But we do know there are big repercussions. There are big decisions to be made because of this red shirt hanging over everybody's head. And, of course, this nagging oblique injury and the poor play of the LSU offense to this point with Garrett Nussmeier, you know, taking the helm and leading. So we'll see. It'll be so fascinating to watch. We'll see. I guess we'll all the way up to warm-ups tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. So anyway, I hope that Nuss is fine. I hope that he goes out and plays great. But if not, I hope that Van Buren steps in there and shows that he was that guy that we hope that he is. The backup quarterback's always the most popular guy in town, and it's never been more true than it is right now. So we'll see. It'll be crazy to watch. It'll be fun to watch. And hopefully, I don't care what happens, I hope we beat the brakes off Arkansas tomorrow. I hope we beat them by 50. I don't see it happen. To beat them by 50, we got to score more than 25, though.
Well, to beat them by, I mean, I think Jake said this yesterday. To beat them by 50, you have to score 50. I don't see that happening. I think it would take you, y'all mapped it out yesterday, 2.5 games to get to 50. So I don't think that's going to happen. But look, remember the big kind of knock on Blake Baker so far since he's been here at LSU. People will say, okay, well, he has trouble stopping dual threat quarterbacks. Taylor Green was a little bit banged up coming into the game last year, but they shut down Taylor Green in Fayetteville last year. So, like, I understand that he's kind of struggled with that mobile quarterback. He figured out Taylor Green a year ago. So, like, maybe this is another one of those games that your defense keeps you in it.
Yep. We'll see. Well, and Blake Baker, we trust.